I'm so excited to welcome everybody to our first ever webinar with Nominis. We are so thrilled to have you join us. I'm Charlotte. I lead the Content and Academy Department for Nominis, and over the next hour or so, I have the pleasure of introducing our fantastic panel.
Really some time to people to join. We're gonna give some time for people to join.
We're gonna wait a little bit longer so that everybody can join, and then we're gonna introduce our panel. It's really exciting.
Can you unmute the panel screen?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. We're going to say hello again. We're so thrilled to have you. I'm Charlotte. I'm from Nominis. I have the pleasure of introducing our panel to you. We're going to be hearing from Snir Levy and Moran Hatsanu-Weiss from Nominis. We're going to hear from Dan Caspi, who is CTO and co-founder of Hypernative, and Guy Vider, CTO and co-founder of Kima. So with a huge amount of expertise and experience under their belts, they are going to be discussing potential risks of decentralized finance, scams and fraud in the Web3 space, and do's and don'ts when it comes to security of your crypto assets. You're welcome to submit questions to our panel through the webinar using the Q&A function. Remember to specify whether your question is for a particular panelist or for the entire panel. Excitingly, we're also going to be taking a first look at Nominis's brand new free wallet screening tool, which will be totally accessible to the public. So on that note, I am really pleased to introduce Snir, CEO of Nominis. Snir is at the forefront of anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism financing solutions, and he leads Nominis's efforts to revolutionize compliance and risk management in the crypto space. Snir, over to you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and I'm happy that you're here. Let me share my screen, and we'll start. If you hear some noises from the background, it's my baby. Don't worry, he's going to sleep.
You're optimistic, but okay.
Yeah. Perfect. Can you see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Good. So hello, everyone. Again, thank you for joining us. I'm going to speak briefly about Nominis, what we do, in 2 slides. Then I'm going to show some use case of Bybit, the recent hack. And then we're going to see the new free wallet screening that is accessible since today to anyone who wants to use it. So let's start. So just like I mentioned, 2 slides about Nominis. So Nominis was established in 2023, backed by MasterCard, Fireblock CEO, Hyperwise Ventures, and more angels. We are using today AI engine for both collecting information from on-chain and off-chain in order to support different type of clients, assessing their transaction and conducting wallet screening. In terms of blockchains, we support 60 plus different blockchains and screen on a daily basis 15 million different transactions. Which clients do we serve today? Startups, DeFi exchanges, centralized exchanges, and law enforcement. In terms of researches, as probably many of you saw on the website, we have a section that discuss about different topics that linked to DeFi, CeFi, third financing, illicit activities, very wide topics from all over the globe. And this is something that our research team happy to do. We try to publish at least once a week a new article about different topic that is a unique one that no one else published before. In terms of the illicit financing in the crypto space, so I'm putting aside the DeFi, which we know that every year billions of dollars are getting stolen from DeFi platforms. In terms of the traditional crypto space, yeah, if we can say traditional, we're talking about over 40 billion in USD that every year goes into illicit financing, illicit cryptocurrency transactions. Most of the exchanges, either if it's DeFi exchanges that want to be regulated or CeFi exchanges, struggle with everything that's related to AML and counterterrorism financing. It's difficult to do this. The regulation is not so clear in many cases. And even when yes, it became very difficult to conduct those procedures. In terms of fraud and theft, we're talking about over 10 billion of funds that were stolen over the last year. And on a daily basis, even though there are sanctions on different entities, thousands of wallets that link to sanctioned entities operating on a daily basis. Now let's go into the Bybit hack. The Bybit hack was one of the largest hack on history in terms of the current, not the current price, because in the past when we see some different hacks, of course, then when we take this money for today, it is much more, but in this case, it's the largest one. We can see in some of those cases that when we take one of Lazarus Group wallets, we can see that it is connected to a lot of different wallets that were previously, if you're able to see, were previously mentioned as some illicit financing scams and different things. So even those, I think we're around 1 week after the Bybit hack, and there are already over 10,000 different wallets that we know linked to Lazarus. Once we take a specific wallet, yeah, that was somewhere 10, 20 hops away from the hack, if we see the source of funds for those wallets, we see a lot of different networks, a lot of different wallets that allegedly doesn't seem to be linked to the Bybit hack, but there is a good chance that they might belong to Lazarus because their activity, because they belong to different scams that no one even reported about them. This all makes us think that the network that Lazarus Group is currently operating is much more wider than everyone is probably thinking. This is what is happening when a country-owned attacking group conducting attacks on the crypto industry and on blockchains. This is, for example, the Tron network, yeah? If we take 5 hops behind, we see different wallets. Those wallets, again, don't seem to be linked to Lazarus in terms of they started working 1 year ago, 2 years ago, and allegedly they have nothing to do with the Lazarus. But if we connect all the dots together, we see that there are some intermediary wallets that seems to be connected to all of them. And again, this makes us all wonder if the actual network of the Lazarus Group is much more wider than everyone thinks. It's not 10,000, it might be even more than 100,000 wallets that link to Lazarus today. One example of the cooperation between Lazarus Group and some other illicit actors is the case of We1Pay, which in previous statements that you can find all over the internet, it was discussed that this group, which belonged to a Cambodian family, which involved in a lot of illicit financing. In the past, it was discussed that they helped launder around $150,000 of funds that were belonged to Lazarus Group. We see just from the Bybit incident that just one wallet out of more than 10,000, just this wallet was connected to over $50,000 that eventually went into those platforms in order to laundering funds. So we believe, again, that the previous mentions that this platform, this illicit actor, helped launder hundreds or $150,000 is lower than the actual amount that we currently see. It can be millions of dollars that went into this illicit actor that helping them launder those funds eventually. Just for you to understand, and you can see all over the internet, this group is, according, again, to some researchers, there are different numbers, but the idea is that this group today is what we call the mainstream or the traditional dark web markets. It's no longer the going into the dark web, using a Tor browser. It became very accessible to anyone. You can just go to Telegram, find a group that help you do anything you want, from pig butchering to scams to ransomware as a service to laundering funds. You can find anything today on Telegram. And this group, according to analysis, and again, it's not a complete analysis. We're talking about tens of billions of dollars that every year goes into such group from different places. I can tell you from previous investigations that a lot of different stuff that don't seem to be connected. For example, terror financing on the Middle East, some scam on Japan, some fraud or sanctions evasion on Russia, and the Bybit exchange exploit. All of them, they have same thing, which is using such attacking groups. So we can say that today, everyone that wants to conduct illicit activities on crypto using one of those services, everything combines together into the same wallets, into the same groups, and there is no way to distinguish today. It seems like everyone is using them as a channel for moving funds, for laundering funds, and to help them conduct scams and phishing and pig butchering, of course. Once we ran, by the way, one of those wallets on our platform, we see a lot of different information. First thing, of course, is the risk score, name, specific statistics and information about the wallet, but we see more information from the off-chain. This is exactly the idea that we bring to the table. We see that someone, for example, mentioned off-chain, that this wallet, in this case, was part of a cloud mining scam. Now, the idea behind Nominis is, of course, to not just conduct source of funds, which we know that this is something that is very common in the industry, which is perfect. But we know that today's world is not just source of funds. You must implement additional factors, additional patterns, additional layers that you need to conduct in order to understand if there is anything malicious in the wallet. So what Nominis is doing, we're having the source of funds, which is great. On top of this, we're using pattern analysis. On top of this, we are using forums and blogs, social media, and dark web in order to enhance and bring more comprehensive data in real time. This is the idea behind Nominis, help companies to reduce the time that need to be invested in conducting an investigation and to help them get more results in zero time. Now, how you as an individual or a company can protect yourself against interacting with potential scams and wallets that link to Lazarus. So, of course, one of the options is to use one of the open sources resources, in this case, Chain Abuse, Verify Wallet, Bitcoin Uzu, and another tools that are free to use. Feel free to take a picture. Those are free resources that allows you to scan wallets and see if there is any scam that link to specific website or wallet. The problem is that when we take all the information from these open source websites, we can say that it has around 1 million, maybe 2 million wallets, that most of them are linked to scam and phishing. But you can't find in the crypto space one free wallet screening tool This is why we decided at Nominis to create a free wallet screening tool. The most important thing in this tool is that it's not just focused on what we call the scam and phishing, which a lot of different websites out there currently have. We're talking about over 100 million, 100 million flagged wallets. When we say flagged wallets, it's not just scam and phishing. It's CSAM, it's terror financing, and 15 more different risk factors, from small risk factors to major risk factors. And it covers 60 different blockchains. This tool is now available on our website, and I'll show you very quick how to use it. And after it, feel free to test it. So let me share my screen again. Perfect. Can you see the website now? Good. So this is our website. For those of you who didn't see it yet, this is our website. On the top of it, you can see the free screening tool. You're able to put any wallet that you want. You're able to click and then get information. The idea, again, is this is completely open. You can use it, since it's for individuals, you can use it up to 5 times a day, which should be enough for the majority of the individuals. And again, it covers over 100 million different wallets. This is by far the largest free wallet screening tool that's currently available in the market. And now it's open and you can use it via our website. I hope that you enjoy also the rest of the presentation that we have today. And of course, if you have any question, feel free to drop it on the Q&A, and we'll be happy to answer everything that you have.
Amazing. Thank you so much for the presentation. To everybody here, if you haven't already, we definitely recommend that you visit Snir's LinkedIn, because he regularly shares the most interesting findings from the Nominis, like wallet screening platform Nominis View. So it's definitely where you would see everything in real time. Now, I am really pleased to introduce Moran Hetzanu-Weiss, Head of Research at Nominis. She is a leading expert in crypto compliance and risk assessment, and it is so critical for us to understand from her the reason why Nominis' new wallet screening tool is so important for DeFi. Moran, over to you.
Hi, nice to see you all, and I'm very excited to be here, and also excited for our new product that you can try it out. So I'm just going to share my screen. Let me know my presentation. Okay. Just one moment. Okay, yeah, I'm having trouble of sharing, so Charlotte, maybe I can share with you the link and you can share the presentation, because I cannot share it from my end. Do you see it now?
I can see that you've started screen sharing. Let's wait a moment and see if the screen comes.
Okay,
We can see it.
can you see it? Okay. Okay, so nice to meet you all. My name is Moran. I'm head of blockchain research at Nominis, and today we are going to dive into what drives DeFi risks, and the risks that can actually shake its security, stability, and reputation. I'm going to sharing some insights and also how to manage risk proactively. So let's jump in. So I'm not going here to give a deep dive on tech lectures or, dev presentation, but in order to know what's going on and how incidents happen, so we need to understand the different layers and how they work together. Also, the serverless supporting services that keeps the ecosystem efficient, stable, and easy to use. So, and then you can see that how all the parts together can speak and also know and get familiar with some of the jargons. So just a quick rundown. DeFi complexity opened the door to a bunch of different risks. So we can see here financial risks, smart contract risk, like bugs and exploits in contracts that can lead to financial losses. Can be Oracle risks, as we seen before, from the layers. Off-chain security risks like wallet breaches and poor key management that expose to users to threat. Governance risks, platform reputation risks at the end of the day, and monitoring risks. Like Snir mentioned before, it's super important to have a monitoring tool that you can actually track the transaction monitoring and allow to keep your hands on the pulse on illicit activities. So talking about the evolution of DeFi vulnerabilities, looking back at starting at 2018 and 2020, when early DEX days, we saw a lot of risk related to front running and float contracts. Then we saw a wave of protocol exploits, major hacks like Cream Finance and Poly network breaches. Then in 2022, cross-chain bridges, they were the target with the rise of multi-chains hacks like Ronin network exploit. And although in 2024 we see improved security, but there are still a lot of ongoing risks. And as we see now in the 2025, I have to also mention the recently Bybit hack where attackers spoofed the multi-sig UI, where it tricked signers to approve fraudulent transactions. So it keeps getting sophisticated, and we need to be aware of that. So I recently came across to a study on DeFi crime scene, and how turns out that the folks behind the tech, how end up playing all sorts of roles to profit-driven crime. So they actually have and pointed to 3 types of groups, which are victims, that and 2 bad actors, and also intermediaries that actually caught in the middle. Okay, so the first group of, let's call them like victims or DeFi actors as targets. In this case, attackers on DeFi platforms, they actually exploit technical flaws or human errors, and they might hack smart contracts as seen here, or use some phishing tactics. But at the end of the day, but the bottom line, they actually looking for any weak spots in the system or among its users. So this is the first group. The second group are DeFi actors as perpetrators, where sometimes the people behind DeFi platforms and layers, they decide to go bad. They might mess with smart contracts, create fake tokens, or temper liquidity pools just to scam users. And the third group that we see here are DeFi actors and intermediary, which, on other times they act as middlemen. They pretend to be trusted services like secure exchanges or bridges, just to fool you into dealing with fake contracts or scams that cost you money at the end of the day. So I found this research very, very interesting and very relevant to understand the roots behind all DeFi acts. Okay. So, looking, reflecting on the, oh, I think I skipped the slide. Okay. So, okay. So regarding this slide, if I'm reflecting on 2024 and everything that we learned during our research, we saw that access controls issues leading to nearly 1.7 billion in crypto hacks losses, which is actually a huge jump from 2023. Of course, it's also disrupted to smart contracts management, as seen here, major losses. Yeah, so, attackers at the end of the day, as said before, they take advantage of weaknesses and break into systems. So we need to be aware of all of these. Okay, so an example of a very famous access control hack that happened in 2024 in Q4 is the Radiant Capital exploit, which demonstrate very nicely the access control vulnerability, which affected almost 10,000 users due to infinite token approval. Actually, this led at the end of the day to ongoing unauthorized transfers on both Arbitrum and BNB chain with the new victims emerging daily. So as you've seen here, this is a screenshot from our platform where we spotted the hack right away. And all the data is already logged into our system. So we actively monitor the new victims that are coming every day and alerting to our clients and as new info coming in. So I highly recommend to use our product. And I can't continue and finish my presentation without mentioning Bybit, which as Snil already introduced before, which was one of the largest, it was the largest crypto exchange that suffered massive hack on Friday. And this actually highlights a systematic crypto security failure. And the key takeaways, as I can say, that is like use hardware security tokens and institutional grade management like Fireblocks with system like nominees for added security. As I said in the past, it was major like bridge hacks. Today we see UI hacks, and tomorrow maybe we see like AI that may exploit poor smart contract code. And at the end of the day, I think security compliance require a multi-layered approach. Also, the code may be strong, but at the end of the day, human factor is where the true risk lies. The last thing, which is not so positive, I think it will happen. It will happen again. If we want to learn from these lessons, it will happen again. Yeah. What can I, at the end of the day, what can I say about this use case? Like having a state, out of state alarmed system at your house, but leaving your key under the doormat. So we need to really be aware of that. So just to end my presentation and for a conclusion, if we're looking at developers, so audits alone aren't enough. We need a robust security like decentralized oracles, multi-sig wallets, and actually proactive monitoring. This is the most important thing. As for users, you should stick to established security practices. And as we see on the side, better security will drive to mass adoption. And that's what we want at the end of the day. And that means like more capital, more funding, and ultimately more trust and confidence. Yeah, so that was my part. Thank you all for listening.
Moran, thank you so much. For everybody listening, if you are interested in further insights from Moran, you should certainly check out Nominis's blog because it's home to many articles and reports that are penned by Moran herself, and they all feature her really perceptive analysis. Now I would love to warmly welcome Dan Caspi, CTO and co-founder of Hypernative. Dan has previously held positions as CTO of Fido, also as a machine learning researcher at Microsoft, and has an extensive intelligence services background. So he is perfectly placed to discuss with us the scams and frauds that exist in the Web3 space. Dan, over to you.
Thanks, Charlotte. Thanks, Charlotte, and thanks, Nominis, for having me. Happy to be here. Let me share my screen. Oh, oh, 1 second. Not Zoom savvy. Oh. Can you see like a full screen thingy now? Yeah, okay. So I'm Dan Caspi. I'm the co-founder and CTO at Hypernative. We're basically a real-time Web3 security platform. Our main, what we're mostly known for is real-time detection of basically hacks, exploits, and things of that sort. We serve protocols, asset managers, wallets, exchanges, various actors in the field. And our main goal is to provide alerts in real time, which are actionable and can prevent loss to either party of the Web3 system. Today, it's a brief presentation about phishing attacks in crypto. So this would mostly focus around the consumer victims. It's something that we at Hypernative now are working with a lot of different customers and angles. So kind of pleased to present this. So basically, I would say a definition in phishing is that it's unlike, say, an exploit of a smart contract or which is basically like, I think was mentioned earlier, like reentrancies and flash loans and whatnot, or even poor access management, at least from a smart contract perspective. So here it's not that the attacker is working, I would say, alone. They're tricking the victim into doing something under some sort of social engineering, and it can range from a website that looks like the website that the user would expect. It could be that maybe the website was compromised, which is what we just heard about Bybit. So, it's a Web 2 compromise, which leads to a compromised Web3 action. So the most common kind of phishing would involve somehow making the user sign a transaction they don't want. That's very common with drainers that we would talk about. Also can be the case with address poisoning, which is also a case that we will cover. So the main goal in this presentation is to kind of show different angles of phishing in crypto. It's not exhaustive, but it's interesting cases. So some examples in general are, I would say, 3 categories. We have address poisoning, which is one example we'll show here. DAS, which is draining as a service. So we'll show that as well. And pig butchering and MEV tutorials. So it's kind of like social engineering scams that make users, through elaborate ongoing persuasion through Telegram and Discord and whatnot, to make them actually willingly send money to the attackers under the pretext of some larger story that they buy into. So we'll start with address poisoning. So address poisoning is basically like many types of social engineering or phishing, relying on the understanding of how users are operating in crypto. And one of the things in crypto is that the way you're sending funds is to basically, or for many users, is to paste an address in their wallet. And one very common used resource in crypto is what we call the block explorer. So Etherscan would be the most used one probably of those. So attackers would basically look at the victim's behavior. So let's say that I send Sneer like I don't know, a transaction like every few weeks. I send him like, I don't know, $10,000, right? So the attacker would say, well, you know, what happens is that I don't actually remember the very long address of Sneer's wallet. So I'll just go to the block explorer, which is public and free. And I see my last transaction to what looks like $10,000. And I know that's for Sneer. So I'll just go there and click copy and just put it in my wallet. And I'll send there the weekly $10,000 that I should send Sneer. The issue is that attackers are devising ways to make the block explorer think that they if funds were transferred from me to a different address. And then I'm copying the wrong address, sending it to the attacker, and we'll show it here. So that's a very famous case that happened that involves sending about $70 million to the wrong address. And with the widely known nature of crypto, once you've sent it, there is no centralized authority to reach out to and say, hey, I got the wrong address, please revert that. It actually happened to me with my bank that I needed to pay the some authority here in Israel, and it was paid twice. So I could actually call the bank and revert it. So it's that doesn't exist in crypto. So what we see here is actually the example. So it says here fake phishing. This is a screenshot from a block explorer. So what we see here is that 1E22, that's the victim here. So 1EE, they sent funds to D9A, and we see that someone that looks like D9A is sending a little bit of funds to 1E. So the idea is to kind of commingle here and put their address within the history of 1E. This one, I call him 1E because it starts with 0x1E. So now 0x1E, maybe if the attacker is lucky, is going to copy that address because 0xD9 sent me. Now, just to be clear, it says fake phishing post factum. So now it says fake phishing, but at the time of the incident, before the incident was widely known, it was not labeled like fake phishing. It was labeled like this, 0xD9. And we see here that it ends with CB285. It's not the same here, right? There is no CB285. They only managed to mimic some addresses. This has to do with computational challenge that you can only mimic like a certain number of digits. Otherwise, it will become infinitely long to create the wallet on the attacker side. So basically, the attacker created a wallet with the digits that start and finish similar to the actual destination that the victim wants to send funds to, and start spamming their transaction history with very small transactions that cost them very little, but might cause the victim to get confused. And of course, they can do it it's kind of like spamming an email. It doesn't cost much, but if you're getting lucky, then it's a $70 million bounty. And then what we see here is that our friend really fell for it, and they transferred the funds to, now it's labeled fake phishing, but at the time it was the address that we saw earlier. And basically what happened is that they saw that there is a WBTC transfer between those addresses. They kind of used a similar address, and they tricked the victim to send them the funds. So that's basically address poisoning. It's a very known attack vector. The chain is, everyone who's watching the chain for those things is seeing basically exponential numbers of those. They're trying everything and everywhere. Everyone that moves more than $50 will get basically spammed by fake addresses. Just move like $1,000 from your address to your address, and you'll see you'll be bombarded by fake transaction trying to make you at some point copy the wrong address. So companies such as ourselves present warnings in wallet integration to not sign transactions that are meant to destinations which we identified as such addresses. So again, like all those security, real-time security measures that were previously referred to also work here. Okay, so that was one topic. Draining as a service. So drainers are, I think Sneer alluded to it in the first, in his portion. So basically, drainers are software that allows scammers to basically present malicious transactions to users. So the idea is that there is an infrastructure that handles the whole Web3 part. So it's a contract that it creates a contract, and the users can sign a malicious transaction, and eventually that transaction can be submitted, and the funds can be extracted from the user. And there is a second operation, which usually that's who is buying the draining services is probably doing. Again, that's an assumption, but I think that's a reasonable one. That if you're buying the kit, which helps you make the actual theft, you still need to make users sign it. So we can call that a scammer. And that scammer basically buys the kit. And with that kit, there are now their role is to basically make users at mass sign various dubious transactions. And the way it's done, it's either via social engineering on websites. It can be spamming emails. It can be spamming Discords. We see that a lot, that basically on Discords, if you were ever to ask something on Discord, which maybe suggests that you need help, you'll see usually someone jumps at you, hey, I can help you, either in DMs or even on the Discord, and all the Discord have bots to try and get those users out. And at the end of the day, they'll try and lead you to a website where you'll present a transaction, you'll sign it. That transaction in particular, behind the scene, would be communicating with contracts that were deployed by the draining as a service kit that the scammer bought. And at the end of the day, they will basically funnel your funds to their wallet. So various schemes to eventually make you sign a transaction. Fake Discord support channels, spamming in Twitter. Like, if there will be a very common thing is that you'll see some very known protocol would issue a warning or would issue just a public announcement, doesn't have to be a negative one. And then in the comments afterwards, you'll start having spammers saying, yeah, click here for the airdrop of the protocol. So an airdrop would be something that would give users kind of rewards for participating in the protocol. So some users would fall for it. They'll say, oh, I deserve that because I'm actually active in the protocol. So they'll go there, they'll sign the transaction, expecting an airdrop, but what will happen is that they'll actually all their tokens will be gone. And the websites look very, very, very legitimate. Like, I've seen many of those, I've reported many of those. I remember in several security groups, we're seeing those in live. It's not, I mean, a lot of people fall for it. It's not that, the websites are looking very, very good. And they use very sophisticated ways to get people there. Yeah, so, like stuff like that, basically, they'll send a link to OpenSea, but on behind the scene, it would be a wallet drainer. So like, if one thing which is pretty on Discord or anywhere, that you can hide the link within some writing, behind the scene, it will not be OpenSea, it will be some link. So you will click that, you'll now go, you think you're going to OpenSea. Maybe there was even a conversation there that leads you to think that the other party is actually, I would say, reliable. And then you go to somewhere that really looks like OpenSea, but then you will list your NFT or something, and it will be stolen right away because you're basically presented a transaction which is kind of taking all your NFTs. What we see here is the forums. Angel Drainer is one of the most widely known drainer kits. There are several of them. Medusa Drainer, Angel Drainer. It's a lucrative and very active business. So you can see that they're basically updating about users of it's a full-blown product. So they're updating users about what was added in the recent version, and you can see all the different updates, like which wallets now they're saying here. So now the Tron Drainers is supporting Wallet Connect and OKX Wallet, so kind of making users they want to buy it. And then again, we can see that I would say it's not very surprising that we see some Russian here. We have you can track a lot of these activities, I mean, to various places, but not you do see Russian represent Eastern Bloc, a lot of Asian Bloc as well. Anyway, so you can read the instructions, you can see forums. This thing is very developed. It's quite an industry, and we track those things in real time across 40 blockchain that we monitor, even 50. And we see them all the time. If I would open our platform for it, you would just see draining all the time. $6, $2. The other day I saw $300,000. So very lucrative business. Okay, the next, so I kind of run through the scams. The next scam I wanted to kind of show you, which is also very interesting, is the MEV scam. So MEV refers to like minor expected value. It doesn't really matter. MEV is a colloquial term, means like a trading bot that does really well and makes you a lot of money. So a lot of people are getting interested in this, and they heard that they can be a MEV, they can write a MEV contract and make a lot of money. So you have a lot of like guides and instructions of how to do it. So you'll find a guy on YouTube. He'll tell you, yeah, you should do this, and he'll teach you how to write smart contracts, and it will look very legit, and you'll have a lot of like likes and tweets and whatnot. And at the end of the day, at some point, they'll tell you, okay, you can deploy this contract. They will give you the code. The code will contain somewhere some part that sends them the funds, and then they'll tell you, okay, well, to start trading, you need to put money, right? But it's your wallet, it's your contract, everything is like very checked, but there will be some backdoor. And as soon as this contract is deployed and the money is there, it will be siphoned out to the exploiter wallet. So basically, someone just kind of, this is probably from Chain Abuse, I think I picked it up. To whoever is not familiar, Chain Abuse is a website that picks up community reports. So basically, you can see the complaint here that the guy was looking at YouTube and kind of learning how to write a MEV bot. At the end of the day, just unfortunately getting his fund drained. Okay. The last type of scam I wanted to kind of go over is something that is referred to colloquially as pig butchering. Pig butchering refers to basically a much more elaborate scheme than those which are done at mass. So if previously we shown like a kind of a Discord thingy that you have a problem with support, so they're basically targeting like very specific thing, but they don't really care who they're talking to, and it's fairly quickly. So they'll basically give you links to the support in Discord. You'll go to the website, you click something. They're not actually engaging in a very long conversation with you. Pig butchering is a bit different. So pig butchering would usually involve, not always, but can involve several mediums. So for example, they'll have like an advertisement on like, I don't know, x.com, and maybe it will be through a group on Telegram and WhatsApp, and the group might pretend to be a Binance investors group. It can be a very elaborate scheme. People would gain confidence. It can take weeks, months to get the confidence of the victim. And basically at the end of those schemes, it will kind of branch out to different things. But at the end of the day, as always, it will always result with the victim basically losing funds. What makes pig butchering a bit unique is that it's not like you're not signing a transaction which you don't realize is stealing your funds. So if previously we talked about address poisoning, you sign a transaction that doesn't do what you want. You want to send the money to, like I wanted to send the money to Sneer, for example, but I sent it to the hacker, right? If previously we discussed the like fake Discord thing, so it's kind of the same. You led me to think I'm at OpenSea. I'm signing it to list my NFT. I want to sign my NFT. What I'm signing is not that. I'm signing something else. Here, this is not the case. Here, I'm actually led to believe that there is an investment platform. I see a website. I see my profile, I have a balance, I'm sending USDT, my balance increases. So I'm really falling for it that this is really a website, and I'm logging in and I have an email and there is support and there is a Telegram support and WhatsApp support, and everything is very legit, or at least to the victim's view. And they're sending funds, usually it would be like stables, ETH, whatever. And they will send funds to those platforms. And at some point, when there is enough funding, and they might, by the way, even get funds back at some point. So they'll send funds, they'll get some funds back, it will look legit. But then at some point, they'll basically kind of take the funds and disappear. And what we see in some security groups that we're remembering, sometimes they'll even say, okay, you know what, your funds are being whatever, they're locked, they're this, they're that, pay us more so we can basically unlock it. So they'll even continue and kind of abuse the victims. So this is pig butchering, and we see fake investment as kind of a leading thing here. We also see, I think it's called, well, I mean, we call it crypto lover, but there is another term for it. So we actually also very much see romance-based scams. So you would see, usually the victim would be male and scammer would present themselves as female. They don't have to be actually female behind the scene. It could be not. And what happens is that usually online, they would meet someone on Tinder, on LinkedIn, on Telegram, doesn't matter. They build kind of trust. And then usually there'll be a request like, I just need it for my dad. I need it for this. I need it for that. And they'll actually start sending funds to the scammer. And this is actually, again, not sure why, but most of what we uncovered, we could trace back to like it's more prevalent in Asia. So here we're seeing like how it looks like from, this is one scammer that we reported. So what you can see is that basically here the victim is 0x82. So they're like getting funds out of Coinbase and they're sending to this one. So we're starting to see basically people sending funds out. It's not very clear from here, but on Hypernative, what we do, we have basically a real-time machine learning clustering that we have a lot of different patterns that we notice that correlate very highly with various types of scams. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what's the front of the whole thing. Behind the scenes, they're trying to get the users to do the same thing. So a lot of time it manifests on-chain as something which is identifiable for us, at least from like machine learning perspective. And this is like, a bit more of a, let me remove my Zoom thingy so I can read. Yeah, so this is like an example of how those romance things look like. So she said she was from Korea, but lived in New York. She claimed to have a good family and that was sick, like the same kind of thing over and over. Most likely this is not the person. Anyway, so, WhatsApp. So, it's like they probably met somewhere, then on WhatsApp. So it's a very elaborate scheme. It's not something it's not like those like spammers that are just spamming everywhere and they'll just have someone that, was randomly hit. Yeah, so Karina or Chen Zhao, jewelry specialist from London. Anyway, so blah, blah, blah. She'll make you invest in a mining pool. Yeah, so this is, I think this is kind of ends my presentation, showing here a bit something of I said earlier. So basically, this is kind of a fake investment platform that we uncovered. And what you can see is that basically, even after they already stole funds, they're basically asking them, well, give me more funds so I can unlock your funds. Or various types of tricks. Whenever we see them, when they're coming to some of them like hotlines that we remember of, so they basically say, well, they just said, so the first advice we give people, just like disconnect, don't talk to them anymore. And they're very good at persuading you that yes, just send me a little more. It's very, so here, see, so now they're very frustrated that they didn't know in advance that it would cost this way to unlock the funds and whatnot. Yeah. So yeah, okay. I think okay. Maybe one last thing. So the thing is that uncovering those things is not so easy because those websites a lot of times will be geo-locked. There'll be invitation code. They need to protect themselves because otherwise it'd be very easy to scrape and kind of get them uncovered quickly. Those things actually work for like, I would not say years because crypto is not like a years type of industry, but they're very active for a long time. Well, like a long month, could be a year, could be like we saw something. I think we already saw like 1 year. So those things are active. They're not easily traceable. I think what Sneer said earlier, that there are like vast networks of scams and fraud that probably they're related. Like I would guess, I have no proof, but I would guess that like it's not that there are like 100,000 different scammers that are doing this. I think there are kind of different actors that are, I mean, yeah, Lazarus, which is probably very big, but that's one thing. But I think there are like gangs that are doing this, and they could be the same gang running like a drainer and running like a big butchering scam and running adverse poisoning. It doesn't have to be like different actors. Yeah, so that's it on my end. Thank you for listening, and if you're interested in Hypernative, I'll have I guess that Nominis will be kind enough to send the links also on the socials. We're dealing with scams, fraud, hacks and exploits. We're dealing with most notable Web3 protocols and asset managers. So happy to answer questions, and always, if you want a demo of the platform, you can reach out.
Dan, that was fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank
We
you, Charlotte.
actually got a couple of questions
Sure.
through for you. At the beginning of your presentation was this first one. We have two from Tushar. The first one is, can you explain how exploiters remain disguised at the network level? Do they use VPNs to proxy the IP, or is there something more advanced behind that?
Yeah, so I mean, so I'm not sure which exploiters. So exploiter can be like of scams and fraud and stuff like that, but then in that case, the victims are coming to them. If you're looking at the websites that they're listing, so usually, fortunately or not unfortunately, that depends on the context here, but it's not always easy to track the listing of the website. So a lot of times the website would be listed at some not very cooperative server farm in in Russia or in China or whatever, but you cannot track the actual owner. In terms of hacks and exploits of smart contracts, this is actually interesting because there is a lot of effort in actually uncovering who is the attacker. So if it's North Korea, like probably this is the case we have in Bybit, it's a different thing. We all know it, North Korea. However, a lot of times it's not. Euler was actually a very notable case where they managed to kind of uncover the attacker. So basically what happened is that sometimes attackers use front ends and they don't realize that. So it can be a front end, for example, that they research the GitHub of the protocol that they're hacking. So they'll go there, they'll kind of research in the weeks prior to the hack or even more. If the hack is like in a very specific module, so you'll start looking in GitHub, like who looked in my in GitHub on that web. So sometimes there is cooperation, then you can see someone, and that was not from coming from a VPN address, and then you start tracking things. And I think Euler was actually a very notable case in which the protocol team managed to kind of hire good services of real-time kind of and also the law enforcement, and the attacker basically understood that they got exposed, and it was a $200 million hack, so quite big. And basically they returned all the funds. And the reason they returned all the funds is because they were under the impression, which I think was correct, that they are probably close to or will be exposed at some point because they left too many, I would say, they left too many marks for researchers. At the moment when they were just a tiny bit exposed, it's likely to assume that you can uncover more. So logs from any server that you may be used. So basically, you have to be very professional to not leave any marks. So any front end of any protocol, anything that you might have used for the hack, and you don't even realize it, maybe someone will think, oh, wait, but for the hack, you must have used like this and that. Or you suddenly see that the wallet did something at some protocol, or maybe someone that interacted with the wallet even months later, someone sent funds to a wallet that was involved in a hack like 2 years ago. And I was like, wait a minute. That wallet, I see that was funded from some, I don't know, some InstaSwapper, like, I don't know, whatever, like a fixed float or change now or whatever. But then you reach out to them. It's like, hey, that session over there, who is that person? And a lot of times, suddenly you'll get links to a hacker from 2 years ago. And then you can get money frozen, and so it's hiding is possible, but I would say it's not 100% easy, right? I hope Tushar it answers what you mean. And is there any other nation organization apart from North Korea, the organization crime? I think it's a good question. So I think they are probably the most, at least in crypto, right? They're very known. There is some, I don't know, maybe Sneer also has something to shed light here, but at least on my end, I think that what I got the impression, and it's more like a hunch than something established. That I think there are many gangs that, if mafia traditionally, like in the classic, would used to do something which is very physical. So I think right now you have a lot of organizational crime that is focused on crypto because it's very lucrative, and it's maybe easier to execute at some level. So I'm not sure if like nation states are that invested, but who knows? Maybe Sneer is more involved in I think AML, which is more nation thingy.
Yeah, so I think
Yeah, I think Luciani just need to read our latest blog about crypto gangs, and you will have all the information there, just posted like 2 days ago. But Snir, you can elaborate.
sure. So I think that the main difference there is the DPRK, of course, the Lazarus Group, which is one which is behind the scene. The second one is the Cambodian family, the Cambodian. It's not a mafia, but the Cambodian group that I mentioned before. Those are illicit actors. This is eventually criminals that they don't even try to hide. I mean, they do this. They have their platform. They have a website, and they allegedly provide legit services. But we know that none of this is really legit. So I believe that as for today, we have the North Korean, but we have this Cambodian group, which might be even more not sophisticated, but more dangerous. Why is it more dangerous? Because it aims to attack not just big exchanges. It aims to attack people, individuals, and for sure they caused to a lot of cases of death and people that lost all their money. So in terms, we all talk and discuss about the Lazarus Group, which is okay. They aim for the big exchanges and etc. But this Cambodian group and the things that they do, they eventually scam and fraud people that some of them lose their life, eventually lose their money. And for me, in my opinion, it is even more severe than attacking and taking funds of big exchanges.
More than losing your money, it sells you to slavery and horrible things that I won't be able to elaborate now.
So, guys, I would love to invite our final panelist to present. He is the CTO and co-founder of Kima, Guy Vider. Guy draws from over 20 years of experience in the tech field, so it's so fantastic to be able to hear from his perspective the essential do's and don'ts in Web3. Thank you, Guy.
Hey everyone, hopefully you can see my screen. The presentation, can you hear me? Anyone? Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
yes, we can see it.
Let's start. Okay, so hi everyone, my name is Guy. I'm the CTO of Kima. Kima deals in decentralized interoperability, meaning we can communicate with systems across blockchains. Our preliminary utilization for that is moving funds between blockchains and between traditional systems onto the blockchains. We actually started, if you recall from the previous, from Moran's presentation, when she was talking about $2.4 billion stolen from crypto bridges, that was the point where we jumped in and tried to see how we can build a crypto bridge that does not involve any smart contracts or any wrapped tokens, and we built our technology on that. So what I'd like to do today, kind of briefly, is do a couple of do's and don'ts in DeFi and cover some of the basics. Many of you probably have already seen those, and you're probably doing those in your active crypto dealings, but it's always worth repeating the basics. This slide, just you probably already know, is difference between a public key and a private key. You can think of a public key as the address written on your mailbox, and the private key as the key that actually opens your mailbox. Okay, that means the private key stays in your pocket. No one knows what it is. No one should know what it is ever. Public key is available to everyone. So if you think about your public address on the blockchain, that's an address that anyone can send funds to, and anyone can see what does it hold, right? So it is, the word public plays a big part of it. Your private key should never be shared or discussed or shown not in part and not in whole to anyone else. That basically what allows you to sign transactions with your address and to control the funds there. I'll briefly touch the passphrase, seed phrase. That's the the list of 12, 18, or 24 words that we've all seen many times before. Every time we start interacting with a new wallet, it's essentially a mnemonic. It's something that will allow humans to remember the private key to some degree. We'll touch on it later, but again, never ever share it. And the most important thing to remember is public key is derived from your private key. That means you can go from the private key to the public key, but you cannot go the other direction. So it's a one-way relationship. Otherwise, everyone could have just taken your funds. So let's go quickly over some do's and don'ts. So I would recommend, before you jumping into DeFi or Web3 or anything related to that, to understand the fundamentals. Don't just follow a post on Twitter or someone on Telegram telling you to do something. Understand what is crypto, understand what are the basics and what's the underlying technology. Understand blockchains. How do blockchains work? Types of blockchains, gas that you will need to pay. A lot of people just jump in and don't realize that, if someone sent you 1,000 USDC to your new wallet, but there is no gas token there, you can't really move those funds around. Understand which wallets are supported by your blockchain and which ones you will need to download and become comfortable and familiar with. Definitely understand what smart contracts are. Most of the code on blockchains resides in smart contracts, and most of what you will do and interact with are smart contracts. They come in different flavors. They come in different languages. Many people just tend to just click buttons and not understand where their funds are going or what they're interacting with. I would recommend just get a brief about it. Like don't become a smart contract developer, but understand what you are working with. Then comes the next level, which is the protocol. You're interacting with DeFi protocol. Maybe it's a lending platform. Maybe it's some other financial protocol that you're interacting with. Try to understand the basics there. A lot of people just jump in. They think that they'll drop their money into a pool somewhere and they'll wake up next morning with double that money. Doesn't work like that. Try to understand what is the underlying financial structure of the protocol you're dealing with. Try to understand what the caveats are. Lending platforms, for example, can be over leveraged. So you may lend 1,000 USDC today and find out tomorrow that they don't even have it to return it to you until everyone pays their loans. So try to understand how that works, and finally understand what dApps are. So dApps are a combination of the front end, which is a regular web application, and the back end, which is a set of smart contracts. It has its own unique flavor of connecting your wallet, signing transactions. Try to get into the cadence of understanding what a dApp is expecting you to do, how does it expect you to operate, to make sure that scammers and other people will not insert themselves between you and the application that you want to work with. I would say this is a general advice that covers anything in life, not just crypto, but definitely do not invest what you cannot afford to lose. Start small, learn your ground, learn your surroundings. If you fell into a scamming trap for some reason, it's still a slap to the face to lose $100, but it's way better than losing $100,000. Avoid FOMO. A lot of those scammers, as Dan mentioned, work on psychological factors. They want to make you feel like, oh, you have like 24 hours to take advantage of this particular token before it disappears. And that's how they pressure you into making decisions that you would otherwise have avoided. When you're looking at a new protocol chain, even if it's like vetted, even if it's like, let's say, Aave, that's been around for like 6-7 years and everyone is using, don't start by dropping in $100,000. Put in $10 or $100, see what happens, see that you're comfortable with it, and maybe then increase your investment. If you send a fund to a new address, please send a tiny amount first to verify with the person on the other side that they got it. Something like Bybit, for example, where a bunch of people signed a transaction that sent all the money instead of to the address they were expecting to send it to, went to a scammer's address. I'm not saying this in particular would have saved them, but if a friend sends you an address on Telegram and says, hey, send me $100, send him $1 first, and then call him on the phone and verify that he got that $1 before sending the rest, just in case someone else grabbed his Telegram user and is sending you a scammy address. Use stablecoins as a way in and out of investment opportunities. So if you're dealing with any kind of token, don't hesitate to jump back to a stablecoin. Make sure it's a real stablecoin, something like USDC, USDT, DAI. These are vetted stablecoins, and that would allow you to basically preserve your wealth until another opportunity comes along. And sadly, the crypto investment world is 24/7, 365. So unlike the stock market where you're used to 9 hours of trading a day and like 2 days of off trading at the end of the week, your crypto is working all the time. So try to have some alerts in place. Try to keep your eyes on it. Don't just drop money somewhere and come back a year later to see what happened with it. Do secure your Web3 wallet, right? If you're using a Web3 wallet, make sure it's protected by password. Make sure it's protected by 2FA. If it's on your phone, use biometrics. Use multiple protections if possible. Some wallets offer you to use both biometrics and another password before you actually send funds. Turn on everything that your wallet offers you to use. Just basically use as many security measures as you can. Yes, it means it takes longer to send this $100 somewhere, but it's way better than figuring out later that you just sent it to the wrong address. If you don't want applications or dApps or hackers to build some sort of a profile on who you are and what wallets you're holding, try to use different browsers, use different devices. Have a device at home that's only dedicated to crypto and has nothing else on it. That would assist you in keeping your profile low profile. Make sure that any of the web wallets that you're using or any of the wallets you're using has the feature where if you try the password too many times, it basically resets the wallet. Since you always have your passphrase somewhere, it's not a problem to recreate that wallet. It's way better to have the wallet basically kill itself and prevent a hacker from going in. We'll see later when we talk about hardware wallets, they actually have a similar mechanism which actually bricks an entire wallet. Definitely do not reveal your private key or seed phrase to anyone. The messages that I have here on the right-hand side, I copied one from the MetaMask Reddit and one from one of the protocols Discord. A lot of hacking and scamming happens on Discord, Telegram, and other social networks where someone tries to make you think that they're a support person or an admin for that group. So every time someone asks something on the MetaMask group, they get immediately like 5 messages from people who say, I will help you. Hey, I'm from MetaMask support. No, they're not, and no, they will not help you. Their goal is to get your private key at the end. It will always start with some innocuous questions about how you're doing, what gets stuck, how can I help you? And it always ends with, could you send me your private key and I will help you untangle your funds? And definitely do not do that. Do not respond to DMs. Do not respond to emails. Do not respond to personal approaches. No one on the internet is trying to give you free money, ever. Okay? So just like you've learned over the years to ignore that famous prince from Nigeria who just wants to give you $4 million if you give him your social security number, no email that offers you an airdrop is ever going to end with you getting more money. Do protect your seed phrase. So that seed phrase that we all see that when we start working with a new wallet or when we start creating a new account, keep it in a safe place. Do not share it with anyone. There are all kinds of tips and tricks on what to do. I didn't really have a lot of time and space to list all of them, but some people just break them into parts. So if you have 24 words, keep 4 words in 3 different places. Share the words between people in your family that you can always bring together. There are all kinds of other like multi-sig capabilities, but some hardware wallets actually give you a piece of paper to just write down your 24 words. Just remember, at the end of the day, it's a piece of paper with ink on it. That means that in 5 years, the ink will disappear. The piece of paper might be torn, might get wet. We've seen some people, sadly, in the last fires that occurred in LA, there were a couple of cases of people who essentially lost their seed phrase to the fire. And since they didn't have a backup for it anywhere, they're essentially not in control of their funds anymore. Always have backups for your seed. And my last recommendation is try to use some sort of a physical seed recording device. I have like samples of like 3 of them here. Those are not expensive. What you do is basically you have a metal that can survive staying in a fire for 5 or 6 hours. So this is, basically will survive you. Let's put it this way. And you get some sort of a pen or a mechanism that allows you to etch the seed phrase into it. Of course, once you have that, you can see that all of those come with some sort of like a hole in it. That hole allows you to add a physical lock to it. And now you can just hide it somewhere and make sure that no one touches it. Definitely do not click any links, okay? Any links that you see that someone sends you, don't believe it. Like if I tell you, hey, you should go to Aave and invest $100,000 in this pool. Here's the link to Aave. Don't believe me, okay? There's absolutely no reason to click a link that I sent you if you can just go to aave.com and start working your way from there. Don't download images unless verified. There are features in all of our social security applications, Telegram, WhatsApp, whatever you're using, that says do not download images. Okay, you can just basically turn that on, and basically what happens is you get like a square that says Sneer sent you an image. Do you want to download it or not? If I trust Sneer, I'll click the button. If I don't trust Sneer, if I haven't seen him before, if it's a DM from someone I haven't seen, I will never download an image or a PDF or anything that I don't know about into my computer, assuming that it might compromise my security. Again, always remember, no one's sending you any free money. No one is sending you a document to sign. That's the current trend. We all work at companies and we all get tons of things to sign with DocuSign or Acrobat Sign or anything like that. If you get something to sign, pick up the phone or send an email to the person who supposedly sent it to you and verify that he actually sent it. Otherwise, you might open a PDF. You will actually enable scripting in that PDF so you can sign. That scripting is now going through your computer looking for private keys. Okay, so just suspect anything that comes in. I know this is kind of horrible that I'm basically telling you to suspect anything in life, but once you put yourself on the map as someone who deals in cryptocurrency, you're basically drawing a target on yourself. So try to handle that situation and just basically protect yourself from the basic compromises. This is one that you've always heard, the DYOR, do your own research, okay? Again, people on crypto are very nice, I have to say. Like if you are a newbie, if you don't know anything, people will explain to you how to do stuff. But some of those people are not good people. Some of those people are going to use the fact that you're new to the area and just steer you towards the scam that they're running this week. So learn a lot on your own. There's tons of material. Every company puts out their their white paper and a lot of documentation. You can read about every protocol before you dive into it. I would caution you against just trusting people on YouTube. It's been known that a lot of scammers operate there and present themselves as if they're working for a company. And some of them are just shilling tokens. They'll tell you that this token is amazing. You have to jump into it. And on the side, they already got, like 1 million of those tokens and they're waiting for your money to come in so they can sell. So, respect but suspect, as they say. Learn to utilize sites like Chain Explorers and DeFi Llama to follow protocols. So if someone tells you about this amazing new protocol, you can go into DeFi Llama, defilama.com, which is still, to my surprise, completely free. They have tons of resources there, and they have APIs. All of them are free that allow you to dive into a protocol and find out how many people are using it, how much money is in it. If it's a tiny protocol with like $1 million, do you really want to add your $1,000 into it? I mean, if you look at Aave, it has several billions of dollars. So I know that I'm a tiny fish there. If I jump into a new protocol that just started yesterday, I'm the exit liquidity, right? The money I'm putting in, someone else will pull out. So use sites like that. Use Chain Explorers to look at smart contracts and verify addresses before you jump in. Don't believe anything you read online. Okay, this is the last one. So this is from like last week. We had elections here in the US and we elected a certain person. And that certain person on his first day in office launched a meme coin. People got in. What they didn't know is that there were 36 or 37 people who were in the know and just waited for their money. They extracted close to $2 billion within minutes, and about 800,000 people basically lost all their money. So don't believe anything you read. I have like a quote here from a TV series that I really like called The Hustle. If you have a chance, look for it. British TV at its best. But basically, it's a bunch of scammers that go around scamming people, and their rule is you cannot scam people who are not greedy. I know it sounds harsh, but basically you always catch someone when they're trying to make a buck out of nothing. That's the point where you can insert yourself and scam them. People who are perfectly okay, let's say with the interest that they're getting from their bank nowadays, are not going to jump into stocks, right? Only when you start getting a little bit greedy, that's when you can be exploited. Greed is good, right? I mean, we're in here to make money, all of us. Like, and there's no one here that's here to because they're happy with what they have. Just remember that greed might drive you to all kinds of places that you don't want to end up in. So monitor that. Do use a hardware wallet. So this is the biggest thing that I see with people who have their computer compromised, their phone stolen. Essentially, what a hardware wallet does is it basically takes your private key and sticks it in a secure piece of hardware. Okay, and then every time you need to sign a transaction, you need to interact with that hardware that basically sends a signed transaction to the wallet and sends it to the blockchain. That means that if I steal your phone, if I hack your computer, I cannot get your private key unless I also have your hardware wallet and the password for the hardware wallet. Most of these hardware wallets, if you type the password in incorrectly, would just kill themselves. They would just erase the wallet. I actually have a wallet that actually has a button that if I touch 3 times, it actually burns the entire wallet. It bricks it. Like I can literally just throw it to the trash and I have to buy another one. This is useful if you're in a situation where you feel like someone is threatening you into typing your password. You can just click that button 3 times and tell them, sorry, dead, can't help you. My rule of thumb is if you have more than $1,000 in crypto, you can definitely invest $50 to $100 in buying a good hardware wallet. They go from $49 to $249 about. And if you want to get 100% security, try to find an air-gapped wallet. So an air-gapped wallet is a wallet that does not connect to your computer. Regular wallets ask you to connect a USB device, and then who knows, maybe one day hackers will find a way to compromise the hardware. Air-gapped wallets use stuff like transactions that are signed on the device, and then you copy them to the machine using an SD card, or they use a QR code. So if you look at the wallet that I have here, it actually has a little camera. You can see the camera on the back here, right, on the back of the device, with which you can take a photo of the transaction that you need to sign. You sign it on the device, and then on the little screen, there's a QR code that you can scan back on the computer. And that way, the private key never left the device. Everything is air-gapped. Don't assume that decentralized means trustless. So everyone talks about decentralized, but at the end of the day, do your due diligence. At the end of the day, there's always someone holding the keys to the smart contract you're interacting with. And that someone might not always be a nice person, or that someone might act under a different set of restrictions, like maybe they are in another country, maybe they feel like the money is running out of their company, so they allow themselves to use their users' money. Similarly, we found in the past, we have DAOs, which are decentralized autonomous organizations. They're not really democratic. We found that a lot of people just bought into DAOs, and they're now holding more than 51% of the majority of the votes. And therefore, you trusted the DAO to take care of your financial interests, but there is some rich person sitting with a finger on the button and taking care of himself. So not everything decentralized is actually decentralized. Do engage with the community, right? So tons of things on YouTube. Every protocol has a community or a Telegram and Discord. Stick to the actual channels. Do not DM with anyone. Okay, you cannot verify. On Discord, anyone can change their name and their user signature to be whatever they want. So I can be Guy Aave support, okay? And then contact you to try to help you. No, I'm not, and no, I'm not helping you. So stick to the channels. Do not stray into other channels, and do not stray into DMs. Most of those channels are monitored, usually 24/7. And if someone tries scamming you in the open, either the admin will swoop in and kick them out, or the community will just start doing scammer, pointing up at that guy. Just remember, it's 24/7, so maybe the admin is asleep right now, so be very careful. Follow influencers on Twitter only after you've vetted them to make sure that they're not treating you as exit liquidity. A lot of the influencers there are just basically shilling tokens or shilling protocols just because they've already got theirs, so be careful. I usually follow the people who deal with crypto security. One famous one is Zach XBT. He's the one who exposed many of the scams that we talked about today, including the Bybit. He was one of the first people to realize that $1.4 billion are leaving Bybit, going into a wallet that he has identified before as belonging to the Lazarus group. So these are the people I usually follow. I try not to follow people who shield tokens or protocols. Guess that's it for this one. And finally, don't be afraid to ask questions. So the crypto community as a whole is happy to assist newcomers, but always ask your questions in a way that says, how do I do something? Not what should I invest in, or not my money is stuck, can you help me, right? Make it a short, a short directed question that will get you a list of steps that you can vet on your own to make sure that you're not being scammed. And make sure that you're using community channels that are modded, meaning there's someone monitoring them and actively weeding out any scammers. So if you follow these rules and several other basic rules, pretty soon you will be helping other people in Web3. Just remember to do your own research. Keep your private key private. If you have any questions, feel free.
Guy, thank you so much. That was fantastic. We have a couple of questions waiting in the Q&A chat. And actually, I think we should open it up to the panel, to everybody, anyone who wants to join in. But Guy wants to know, what are everybody's thoughts about pump.fun, and also other rug pull websites? Anybody have any?
I think the answer is in the question. If you know that a site is a rug pull, what are you doing there? Like specifically, this whole meme coin thing is essentially it's not a DeFi protocol. It's not a DeFi value. It's essentially a casino. Okay, the way meme coins work is the people who got in first manage to extract liquidity from the people who come in later. Okay, so the whole gamble is, am I early enough? Right? Did I get there early enough to be the one extracting the value from other people? If you like pyramid schemes, by all means, visit pump.fun. If you do not like your money going away to some person who's already rich, maybe avoid it.
Great. Guys, if anybody has any more questions, this is the time to ask, and then we are gonna wrap up. Or if any panelists have any questions for each other, absolutely go for it as well. We have a question from an anonymous attendee. Is there a way that the Bybit stolen Ethereum can get frozen?
I think we've already kind of covered that, but Ethereum itself is not a smart contract, so it doesn't have a built-in mechanism that would allow you to freeze it. What you can do is basically convince a bunch of exchanges to not deal with the addresses that have the stolen funds. And I think Nominis is doing something like that. You guys are working with exchanges and protocols. So you need to convince people to not accept funds from these addresses, which is a temporary step, because creating a new address, takes seconds. So people will move it around. On Ethereum itself, sadly, the only thing you can do to freeze funds or to make sure that nothing moves is censorship, meaning you need to convince 51% of the validators on Ethereum to not deal with that address or with those particular ETH. And it was done once with Tornado Cash. Basically, several of the validators are censoring any address that touched Tornado Cash in any way. But it's been proven to be very hard because a lot of the validators are anti-censorship, and they basically think, it's not our job to help someone who got rugged or stolen from. We're not going to change the entire protocol to fit that. I'll just add one little comment, and that is at the beginning of Ethereum, when the MakerDAO was compromised and a lot of money was lost, the Ethereum validators did the unacceptable and unexpectable, and they basically rolled the chain back to the block before the hack happened. So they basically cheated everyone who thought that everything is decentralized and fair and nice in the world, and basically gave the money back to the people who lost it. That again just goes to the what I said before. Don't assume that decentralized is really decentralized. Like at any point in time, the Ethereum Foundation can vote to roll back the chain to the block before the Bybit hack and stop it. But if that happens, they'll lose tons of people who believe that they're working on a fair and decentralized chain.
Guy, I know you touched on it before, but Franciel would like to know what you would consider the best hardware wallet so far. Is there any you want to reiterate, or if any of the rest of the panelists want to jump in, go for it.
I think I have like a bunch of them. I have like a drawer full of hardware wallets that I just try. Some of them I try once and throw away, and some of them are still with me. I think the Trezor and Ledger are the most common ones. Most wallets support them. They're certainly good enough. Let's call it that. If you want to go with higher level of security for Bitcoin, there's something called Cold Card, where again it's completely air gapped. It has tons of security features. It's also very expensive, and you can only buy it in one place from the company in Canada. But there's a bunch of other like air gapped wallets that you can easily get, like Keystone. That one you can usually find at around $100. And that's the one that does the communication with the wallet with the QR code, and it supports close to 100 different wallets on phones, on tablets, and on the web. And I kind of like it. It's awesome.
I think also, Guy, it really depends on the amount that you want to hold, and of course, if it's for individual or company. There is no single hardware wallet which we can say that is safe enough to hold a company's balance. Okay, this is important. Even those from time to time companies using hardware wallets when they have no other options, but this is not the right method. Companies should use MPC, should use access control, should use companies and custodians or non-custodians that are reputable and have sufficient security. Hardware wallet is not enough for companies for holding big balances of companies.
Yep. I would also say, think about like the more money you have, think about using multi-sigs. Okay, so basically that means that to move the funds around, you need to sign more than once. Okay, again, it sounds like a hassle, but if you have hundreds of thousands of dollars, that's not a hassle. That's a mandatory thing to do. And then if you split your signature to multiple signatures, you can literally use several wallets, right? So that would prevent anyone from stealing from you, because they actually need like 2 or 3 different devices to sign a transaction. And again, do that, when your funds are, don't do it for $1, right? But, yeah, like someone here is commenting, it's much more of a hassle to get your money once you lose it than it is to protect it at the beginning. So.
Charlotte, we can't hear you. Still no.
Now? Great.
Perfect.
We have a really interesting question. I think this will be our final question from Tushar concerning responsibility and accountability. He says, in the recent rug pulls, people were blaming the Argentinian president or the Trumps, but nobody forced somebody to invest. So where do you think accountability and responsibility lies?
I'll just offer my opinion because I'm still like going from one direction to another. So there are scammers and scammed, right? In every scam. Let's all agree that scammers are bad people, right? But let's also agree that some of the scam people walked into the scam with their eyes wide open. They were hoping that they'll be able to extract value from the next people coming in. So like I said before, you can only be scammed if you're greedy. And if you're greedy to the level that you're agreeing to participate in a scam, there's a problem with that. So the way I put it is, and I had that argument with someone online last week, is let's say I build a bar, and over the bar, there's a sign that says, anyone who comes into my bar will have their wallet stolen from them, and then they'll get bonked on the head. And around my bar, there's a bunch of people walking around with like big bumps on their heads and no wallets. Can you say that I'm the blame here if I built that bar, if those idiots can't read and they just walked in? The answer is yes. I'm still a crappy person for doing this. But at the end of the day, those people walked in with their eyes wide open after reading the sign, and they got exactly what they expected to get. So it's kind of, both sides are to blame, but, don't be a scammer and don't get scammed, I would say. You're muted, Charlotte.
There we go. I think this is a good time to wrap up if nobody else has any further answers or questions. Thank you so much to our wonderful panelists for their insights and to our audience for their contribution and engagement.
Sure.
You will all receive an email following the webinar with our panelists' presentations from this session, with a recording of this session, and their social media information so you can continue to hear their insights. Don't forget to visit Nominis.io to try out our brand new wallet screening tool, which is available to the public, and follow Nominis on Telegram, LinkedIn, and Twitter for updates and to get information about all things crypto compliance. Thank you so much to everyone for attending, and good night, good day, good evening, good morning, wherever you are.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very much,
you.
everyone. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.